Have you ever noticed this? Some people can hurt you deeply, say the wrong thing, cross a clear line, and yet, they never apologize. Not once, not sincerely, not even when the evidence is obvious. Instead, they explain, they justify, they shift the blame, or they act like nothing happened at all. And after a while, you start wondering, how can someone be so wrong and still feel so right? The truth is darker than most people realize, because for some people, apologizing isn't just uncomfortable, it feels dangerous. Let's start here. Most of us are taught that apologizing is a sign of maturity, a sign of strength, a sign of emotional intelligence. But not everyone learned that lesson. For some people, admitting fault feels like emotional collapse. To them, saying, "I was wrong," doesn't mean, "I made a mistake." It means, there is something wrong with me, and their nervous system can't tolerate that feeling. So instead of apologizing, they protect themselves. Psychologists break an apology into 3 internal steps. First, recognizing reality. Second, accepting responsibility. Third, tolerating shame. That third step is where everything breaks down. Because shame isn't just embarrassment. Shame is the fear of being unlovable. And if someone learned early in life that being wrong led to punishment, rejection, or humiliation, their brain made a simple rule: never admit fault. Not because it's dishonest, but because it feels unsafe. This is why some people argue even when they know they're wrong. Why they focus on tiny details instead of the bigger picture. Why they say things like, "That's not what I meant," instead of, "I hurt you." They're not defending their actions. They're defending their identity. An apology feels like self-destruction. Here's something important to understand. The ego's main job is not truth. It's survival. When someone never apologizes, their ego learned that being right equals being safe. So when you confront them, their mind doesn't hear feedback. It hears threat. That's why they react with anger, or sarcasm, or cold detachment. Not because they don't care, but because caring feels like losing control. Now let's go deeper. For some people, refusing to apologize isn't just defensive. It's about power, because apologies shift the emotional balance. When you apologize, you lower your guard. You validate someone else's experience. You give emotional ground. People who are obsessed with control cannot tolerate that. So instead, they dominate the narrative. They interrupt. They dismiss feelings. They turn every conflict into a debate. Eventually, the other person gets tired and stops bringing things up, not because everything is fine, but because resistance feels pointless. And that silence, that's not peace. That's emotional withdrawal. Here's the irony. People who never apologize think they're protecting themselves. But over time, they lose something far more valuable: trust. Because trust isn't built on perfection. It's built on repair. Healthy relationships don't avoid mistakes. They recover from them. And when someone refuses to apologize, repair never happens. Resentment builds quietly. Distance grows slowly, until one day the relationship ends. And the person who never apologized says, "I don't understand what went wrong." Another hard truth: you cannot force someone into accountability. You can't logic them into empathy. You can't explain someone into emotional maturity. If apologizing threatens their sense of self, they will protect that self at all costs. Facts won't help. Proof won't help. Pain won't help. Because the issue isn't understanding. It's tolerance. They cannot tolerate guilt without collapsing or attacking. This is where many people get stuck. They keep waiting for the apology. They keep thinking, if I explain it one more time, they'll finally get it. But the apology you're waiting for may never come. Not because you're wrong, but because they're limited. And once you accept that, something shifts. You stop chasing closure. You stop over-explaining. You stop begging to be understood. Not out of bitterness, but clarity. Now let's talk about what this means for you. First, stop personalizing their refusal. Someone's inability to apologize is not proof that you're too sensitive. It's proof that they don't have the emotional tools you're asking for. Second, watch behavior instead of words. If someone struggles to apologize but consistently changes their actions, that's still accountability. But if there's no apology and no change, believe what you're seeing. Third, decide what you're willing to tolerate. Understanding someone's psychology does not mean you have to endure their behavior. Compassion does not require self-abandonment. Here's the darkest truth of all. Some people would rather lose relationships than lose their self-image. They would rather be alone than be wrong. They would rather rewrite reality than face guilt. They would rather protect the ego than repair the bond. And once you see that, you stop waiting. Because real strength isn't never making mistakes. Real strength is being secure enough to say, I messed up. I hurt you. I take responsibility, and still know you're worthy. If this resonated with you, take a moment and reflect. Who in your life never apologizes? And what has it cost you? And if you recognized yourself in this isn't judgment, it's awareness, because growth begins where defense ends. If this helped you see people more clearly, subscribe. There's more beneath the surface, and once you learn to see it, you can't unsee it.